Hey everybody, Sean Tierney here from the Automation Blog and School, and this week on the Automation Podcast we have a special treat. We have Jackie, Craig, and Raphael from Siemens all on the show at the same time to talk to us about Siemens VFDs and servo drives. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on the Automation Podcast and taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show. I know we have Raphael, we have Craig, we have Jackie. Could you guys introduce yourself to the audience before we jump into the products we're going to be talking about today?
Okay, Sean. Well, thank you for having us on today. This is Craig Nelson. I'm a product manager with the motion control group in Siemens Digital Industries and been with Siemens for about 30 years now.
I can go next, Craig. Raphael Archer here, Craig's counterpart on the motion control team, product manager for the general purpose drives. I haven't been too long with the company as Craig, but I've been close to 10 years now.
Well, 10 years is still pretty good. This is Jackie Stokes. I'm the marketing programs manager in the General Motion Control Group, and I've been with Siemens for just under a year, but I do have an industrial automation background. So thanks again for having us, Sean.
Yeah, and thank you all for coming on the show. I'm excited. We haven't talked about these products yet. We've had, PLCs, HMIs, all kinds of, industrial switches, all kinds of different products, Profinet. But I'm excited because this is definitely in the wheelhouse of our audience. So without further ado, I'll let you guys take off and start the presentation.
All right, great. Raphael, if you want to get us set up for the first slide, and we'll go into a little bit on overview about motion control. I know you're real familiar, Sean, with our sister business unit, Factory Automation. We have a lot of synergies with factory automation inside Digital Industries, along with sharing a lot of technology and know-how and products. But in motion control, you can see we have just a little bit, well, we do have a different portfolio, even though we have a lot of synergies. We specialize on a number of things. One of them being our know-how and market leader in the machine tool industry with CNC controllers, and then our broad range of Synamics drives and Symotix motors as well. The key thing with our portfolio is that we've really kind of made a, if you want to call it the revolutionary just gain in how people actually develop and design and completely, engineer, commission, and run all of their machinery. And that's a big part of our software part of our offering as well.
Can I ask a question? When you
Sure,
say
Sean.
Siemens motion control portfolio, I know with other vendors like motion control is separate from VFDs, but in your portfolio, it seems like VFDs are part of it. Is that correct?
That is correct. When we talk about motion control at Siemens, really we're talking about, being able to anything that spins. So,
Okay.
from the motor and the drive, and the controller aspect as well when we get into the machine tool industries.
Excellent.
Now, a little bit more on our portfolio for the low voltage drives. This is our Synamics family of drives. And with the Synamics portfolio, what we're going to see is that, it's an expansive drive portfolio. And it's an integrated drive portfolio as well. So, it's one drive family for all applications. And if we can go to the next slide, Raphael, we can start taking a look a little bit into, behind when we say, one drive family for all applications. So this, of course, starts off with our standard performance drives. Some of them are simple shaft turners. Then we get into a little bit more general purpose drives that have a lot more capabilities in them as well. Then we move up into the power range as well when we start getting into our G130s or G150s that are an enclosed drive. So, and along with our standard performance drives, we have our distributed drives offering as well. So a lot of these drives are manufactured in a distributed format or are mounted on a motor or geared motor here and shown in this example. And this really expands our portfolio to a lot of applications that are a little bit more centered of needing decentralized drive, a lot of logistics types, conveyor type applications in particular. And then we move into some of our industry specific type of drives. And, these are drives that are used a lot more for pumping applications, fan applications, some of the commercial applications, more wastewater applications where 18 pulse drives are very common to be used. And then we start moving into a little bit more of the fun stuff with servo capabilities. So we have our one of our new offerings is the micro drive. So this is actually servo capability in the extra low voltage range for 24 and 48-volt type servos. And then we get into our servo packages and into our system type drives, which is our S120, and our system type drive is also a flagship for the high performance drives as well. And also in our portfolio of drives, we start moving into our DC drives, as well as a lot of DC to DC conversion as well. So we've really become a specialist as well in our drive portfolio of doing some power conversions from the DC to DC. So there's a lot of applications, whether it be a test stand, whether it be renewable energy, whether it be backup power, where having this DC to DC conversion starts getting very popular now. And two things I also mentioned too is before we move on to the next part, and I'll turn it over to Raphael. One being the power range as well as our portfolio. So it's the unified portfolio from fractional horsepower to well over 5,000 horsepower, and keeping it all in the same family of drives. This is where really it adds a lot of ease of use capabilities as well as people have a wide range of applications. And Raphael, I'll turn it over to you to go into a little more detail on that.
Yeah, appreciate it, Craig. I'll just touch base on a couple topics here for this introductory webinar. One will be commonality and the other will be ease of use. Our drives are designed by our R&D team and manufactured at Siemens plants around the world. So that means, we have full control of both product and production quality, along with the overall product life cycle. Great example of that is the hardware and firmware commonality among the portfolio. So when it comes to firmware commonality, the parameter groups are the same for the basic drives, all the way to the high-end drives. And the benefit here is that if you learn one model, you know them all, right? The parameters are grouped into blocks. For example, motor parameters will be always in the P100 range. So the basic drive units will not have all the parameters, but as you move towards the high-end drives, new group of parameters are introduced while maintaining that basic same parameter group. So you know them all. That's the commonality on the firmware side. Just one example of it.
And I want to just interrupt for a second, just for the audio only audience who are maybe listening while they're driving to work. This looks really cool. So let's say the small tiny drive has parameters 3 through 7 and 100 through 104. The medium drive may also have those same parameters, but also have another range of parameters 30 through 34. And the high-end drive may have parameters in the 50 range, in the 20 range, in the 200 range. So it really gives you an idea how, P3 and all the drives are the same thing, but you may not have a P30 in a small drive because that may be some special feature that, the tiny little motor spinners don't have. So just trying to verbally give them that visual image because it is a really good way of explaining that.
No, I appreciate that, Sean. Yeah, and again, that's the power of having full control of the design and production on the devices, in this case, the firmware. But the idea here is once you know one drive, basically you know them all because those parameters keep replicating from the basic all the way to the high-end product. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, if we talk about on the hardware side now, some common products and accessories can also be shared among the different series. And a good example here would be the one shown on the slide. Basically, we have our power modules. They can be either used with a servo type control unit and therefore combined into a servo drive, or a general purpose control unit, and therefore combined into a general purpose drive. And the idea behind here is, we can provide maximum flexibility, maximum scalability to both OEMs and end users when they are designing new equipment or optimizing any existing installed base. And the example here is for a single axis topology, but we also offer similar flexibility when customers wanted to integrate a single axis drive into a Cinemex multi-axis system. And this commonality is also applicable when our drives are integrated with the different Siemens automation solutions, PLCs, HMIs, distributed IOs, and other products. And that's what I want to show on this next slide here. Just in a nutshell, these are some of the tools that our customers can use when selecting and dimensioning our drives, or when doing commissioning and optimization for that matter. So the top two there, the TIA selection tool and what we call the DT configurator, those are very user-friendly tools consisting of menu-driven product configurators, dimensioning of mechanical systems, including generation of system documentation and drawings. And that's not just for drives, by the way. TA selection tool, for example, integrates product dimensioning and selection of the complete Siemens automation portfolio. That's available either online or offline. Cinemex Selector, that's a phone-based app that provides a quick and easy drive selection. With just a few clicks, the user can get the correct article number, technical data, and can even send an email to their customers or their inside sales team with those information for a quick quotation, for example. And then TIA Portal, Start Drive, that's our totally integrated automation portal. That's our efficient engineering platform for system automation portfolio, Siemens automation portfolio, I should say. Everything is integrated into one common database that it's consistent, it's comprehensive, yet it's pretty easy to operate through lots of wizards, graphical masks. And the drive piece of it, called Start Drive Basic, for example, is free of charge. And that allows users to do commissioning, optimization, and troubleshooting of our Cinemex drives free of charge. We do have an advanced version that starts to integrate, safety licenses and other functionality that's paid for, but the basic version is still free, and users can, as I said, do commissioning, optimization, troubleshooting all day long with our drives.
Can you do like upload, download as well? I mean, that's one of the big things people will want.
Oh yes, for sure, Sean. Yeah,
Okay,
you can do, yep. Upload, download, save parameter, change parameters, absolutely. Next slide here, I want to talk about drive support for a second. And we feel, this is one of the biggest advantages that Siemens can offer over competitors, our local and global support structure. And that's throughout the entire sales cycle, right? Either done through Siemens personnel or through our local channel partners, distributors or solution partners. And here I'm talking both pre-sales support, being application expertise with our industry-focused specialists to find the best solution for those customers, all the way to post-sale application support and product lifecycle management through a whole array of customer service offerings. I keep saying this, anyone can sell you a drive, but not many can really help you choose, engineer, set up, and service them the way we can. So,
I want to just, for those who aren't familiar with Siemens, this slide, if you're listening, this slide shows that at the distributor level, they have the PLC specialist, the control specialist, the motion specialist, who'd also be VFDs, and they have the expertise at the distributor level. And of course, obviously, they have that expertise on the company level as well. But if you haven't used Siemens before, you may not be familiar with how they have that at the local level and at the corporate level, like some of the other larger vendors do. So that's good to point out that, call up your local rep if you need to talk about these things.
Yeah, no, we have that engagement, as I said, pre-sales all the way through post-sales in order to maintain that installed base and life cycle management. And we even offer, free drive support over our hotline phone
Nice.
number from 8 to 5 local time. So we use the follow the sun scheme. Your local 8 to 5, it's free drive support. Just call the hotline and we will get you support.
Nice.
And with that, I'm going to turn it to Jackie to talk a little bit on reliability.
Sounds good. Thanks, Raphael. Yeah, so when we talk about drive reliability, this is where I really see that Siemens shines. So one of the most vulnerable parts of the drive is sometimes the printed circuit boards. Raphael, if you want to switch to the next slide. And one of the ways we prevent against any kind of issues happening with that, such as shorting, is to protect it from extreme environments with conformal coating. So you're probably familiar with conformal coating or have heard about it, but it's basically a coating that you put on the circuit board and it protects it against a whole host of different environmental factors such as corrosive substances, condensation, high humidity, salt mist, mechanical substances, extended temperatures, as well as installation at high altitudes. So, we know drives are installed everywhere around the globe and everywhere in your factory and often used in really tough environments. So there are a bunch of different standards. Is this a build slide, Raphael? There might be one more click. Not sure we're seeing the coding on this. Otherwise, I'll just talk about it. But there are different environmental classifications that printed circuit boards can be conformally coded for. That starts with like C3 or 3C1, which is just very basic. The industry standard would be C32. So at a minimum, all of our drives would have C32. But we also see many of our drives, and as we see applications for drives expanding, our new drive designs are increasingly afforded higher levels of protection. So that would be the C3 coding for many of our electronics. So this allows for, wider operating temperatures, harsher environments. And then we also have one that's even more extreme called C+, and that is, an optional add-on. But again, if you have a really tough environment and you want to make sure you don't have to replace that drive prematurely, it's certainly an option that you can use to make sure that you're protecting your drive. So again, our drives are installed everywhere across a whole host of, extreme environments. And so our drives are, well protected and designed in order to handle these environments. And then I just want to add, again, dovetailing off of the reliability, Raphael briefly mentioned this, but this is about the locations of our manufacturing, research and development across the world. So if you want to go to the next slide, Raphael.
Before you do, I just
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
for the audio audience, I just wanted to kind of review this with you because it looks like here we're seeing that the industry standard coding would be 3C2, but I believe what you're saying, if I understood you correctly, that your VFDs, your SiMotion, your servo drives, your VFDs, they come with a standard 3C3, so better than the industry standard. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct. Now, I can't guarantee all of the drives are C3C, but a lot of them are
Okay.
as standard. And then the upgrade would be the C+ Extreme.
Yep. And the C plus is also available on the PLCs. That's kind of where we've seen that before on the show here. So, okay, great. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop you, but I wanted to make sure I was understanding that correctly.
Yep. That's a good question. So yes, we especially on new designs too, as Craig mentioned to me earlier today, we are implementing that C3 so that they're protected for even more extreme cases.
Perfect.
But always an option if you want more protection. So we can go on to the next slide. So this kind of just talks a little bit more about our reliability. Maybe something you don't think about when you're buying a drive from a manufacturer is, are they actually the ones making the drive, doing the research and development and manufacturing it? And we can say with Siemens drives, we absolutely are. So these are our manufacturing locations. For those of us just listening, most of them are in Europe, but we do have some in China as well. And then we are also modernizing and following our own, implementation of digitalization and really trying to use that as an example that we can share with our customers. So if customers are looking to implement digitalization in their own factories, they can look to Siemens to see how we've done it. But, we're talking about drives today. So this is one of the factories that we have in Germany and the improvements they've made that benefit our drive products. So improving time to market, quality enhancement, flexibility, and efficiency. So making it so that we're producing faster, better, and higher quality products for you guys. So just want to, reiterate, we are a global company and we're well invested in our drive manufacturing and research and development.
Yeah, and I think it gives people a peace of mind that you have over 12 manufacturing locations because with supply chain and lockdowns and just all the turbulence that happens, it's good to have multiple locations where you're manufacturing product. So I know the audio audience can see that, but on the map there's over 12 different locations.
Yes, it's certainly a challenge for everyone right now, but
Yeah, oh yeah.
Lucky for us, we're in control of our production. So if we can get the parts, we're gonna build it. So
Awesome.
And then I'll just share a little bit about networking and communication. So, just features on our products. You can go to the next slide. So again, we know Siemens is a German company, but the folks on the phone here really represent the US market. So we have product managers in the US as well as in Germany. And our goal is to really focus on the US market and make sure we're, delivering products that suit the needs of our customers right here. And one of that has to do with the industrial networks that we make sure our drives can communicate on. So two of the largest industrial Ethernet networks, as everyone probably knows, are Profinet and Ethernet IP. Profinet and Ethernet IP have about the same market share, but in North America, Ethernet IP is probably the most common. So we make sure our drives, all of them, can communicate on both Profinet as well as Ethernet IP. And we do that without any option cards or extra hardware.
Nice.
Or, yeah, exactly, gateway devices. It's just one parameter change in the drive, and you can communicate on either Profinet or Ethernet IP.
That's phenomenal. That's just one of the best things I've seen happening in industry is what you guys have implemented here because for years it's been with other vendors, you've had to buy a different communication card to talk Profinet or Ethernet IP. But now you're saying when I buy my new VFD or servo drive from Siemens, I have a software switch that I change so I can go either way.
Yes, exactly. Our drives also have dual Ethernet ports as standard, so you can do that device level ring if you want, again, without any additions or, moving up in the product family and paying extra for it. So just want to let everyone know on the phone that our drives are really, well suited for the North American market. Of course, they communicate with our Siemens PLCs, the SIMATIC PLCs and HMIs, but we've also made the effort to make sure that they fully integrate with ControlLogix, Rockwell Automation, CompactLogix, ControlLogix PLCs as well. And we do that by creating EDS files, which allow you to, find the drive on the Studio 5000 software. And then we have add-on instructions and faceplates as well. So we can go into, maybe a deeper dive in another episode, but, we appreciate that, customers might have either PLC in their plant and they want to be able to communicate on either one at any time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we would love to have you back to talk about that more.
Okay, great. And then one more slide to wrap this up on the networks. We talked a lot about Ethernet IP and Profinet because that seems to be where a lot of manufacturers are headed, to get the most out of data collection throughout their plant. But there are other networks that our drives communicate on. And in this slide, You can see we have the V20 drive, the G series, the S series, as well as our DC drives. The V20 you're probably looking at and saying like, oh, it only talks on 2 networks in this chart, but it is our very simple, basic, cost-effective drive. So that's why it's just not fully integrated with all these other networking capabilities. But the G series and the S series, as well as most of the DC drives as well, communicate across a whole host of other networks. So EtherCAT, CAN Open, Modbus RTU, Profibus, USS protocol, but different field bus protocols as well as other industrial Ethernet as well.
Yeah, just for those listening, the low, simple, cost-effective V20, which would be like your small popcorn drives, those are Modbus RTU and USS protocol. I know some of the competitors, their tiny drives also only speak Modbus RTU, so that kind of makes sense for my. But everything else has Ethernet and Profinet, and then all these other options, depending on which series you have. So that's good. I mean, it's good to know that they all have Profinet and Ethernet once you get out of the V20.
Yeah, exactly. So now Craig's going to give us a little overview on safety.
Awesome.
All right, Sean, when we start talking about drives-based safety integrated, this is an area where the Synamics drives have really led a lot of the market innovation. And with the safety integrated technology, there's a big part of it where we tie into safety rated fail-safe PLCs and being able to do the drives-based safety integrated functions over a network, and that in itself is an evolution from a lot of the hardwiring, but also the range of drives-based safety integrated functions that we can do in our drives. And this gets a lot further than just your typical stopping in the drive with a safe stop 1 or safe stop 2. We get into the safe limited speed, safe positioning, safe brake testing, even safe limited torque as well that we're seeing in some of our newer products. So this is a really encompassing range of functions that we can do. And when we start taking a look at what is happening or what are the requirements for drives today, it's working in these heavily automated machines and being able to do a lot of the safety integrated function or these more advanced type safety integrated functions to solve some of these complex needs for safety. This is where the Synamics drive systems really shine out there in the market and being market leaders.
Now I want to ask a question. I'm
Sure.
seeing all of these. I think it's like 11 different, like safe speed monitors, safety limits, limited speed. These you're saying this is built into your drives that have safety built in. This is not requiring a fail-safe S7 CPU. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, it does depend on the drive and the
Okay.
drive range. This is sort of a sampling of
Okay.
the safe drives-based safety integrated functions that we can do across our ranges. When we get into more of the system type drives, those are going to offer more of the full range of safety functions. But with our drives, whether it's the fail-safe drive or we just enable it now more with just a license to do some of these extended
Oh, all
safety
right.
functions, really gives us that capability, that full flexibility to be able to scale it. Of hey, maybe I just want to do an STO and I just want to hardwire it in. We'll offer that pretty much across the range of all drives where you can do a simple 2-channel hardwired in for your STO. But when you want to start moving into I want to do this over ProfiSafe
Mhm.
and I want to tie it to a fail-safe PLC, that's when we move into a lot more of the capabilities of okay, it's a you might have a Synamics G drive that's if you want to call it the standard version, and then you can get the fail-safe version. Or if you want to move into the Synamics S-type drives, the system type drives, you'll have again built in some basic drives-based safety integrated functions. But when you want to start using these into more advanced applications, we can add that in with a safety license to enable those functions. And also, when we do this with our Synamics S120, we can use, and we have an I/O module for the S120 at the M54F, where we could hardwire that in if you weren't connected to a safety PLC, and still be able to do a lot of these advanced safety functions.
Nice.
Now, with the safety functions as well, when we start taking a look at the complete concept of, hey, we're designing a machine, we're going to do the risk analysis on the machine, we're going to come up with a risk assessment and basically say, okay, these are the the risk of this machine in these different operating modes. And then risk minimization, we're going to have to minimize this. How we're going to minimize it, it might be we're going to have to do a safe stop 1, with ISO performance level rating or an IEC rating. That's when it comes into some of our tools, which we really haven't had a chance yet to talk about a lot of our different tools. But with our TIA selection tool, there we have the safety evaluation built in. So here we can go in and say, okay, we're going to use a fail-safe PLC, and we're going to use this Synamics G120, and we want to do a safe stop 1, and want to make sure it's the SIL rating or performance level rating. All of that can be confirmed in your selection with our tools. And then, of course, when you have the drive and you're doing the startup, and you're going to put in the programming and the communication, we'll have TIA portal, and we have start drive built into the TIA portal, and all that can be handled. But where we've made some additional innovation as well is the safety acceptance testing. So once it's up and running, and you basically are going to do the last part of your risk analysis, which is the verification and documentation, we're able to support that as well with our software tools. So with the Start Drive Advanced, it allows us to go in and do a safety acceptance test. And that safety acceptance test is we're going to go into each drive axis, and we're going to test the safety functions that are enabled. So it's going to allow us to go in there and test them and document them and say, okay, basically when it was finalized in its commissioning, we document this is the parameter set. This says, the test functions that were set up. This is the verification that they were run. So if we see here in this one example, it might be an STO, and I'm going to verify that, when somebody hit that safe stop 1 from max speed, the machine stopped in 3 seconds. And, so in case anything ever changes or there is an accident, you go back and you have the verification here, okay, here's the verification that this machine would stop from max speed in 3 seconds with the safe stop 1. So that's a big part of it, and making sure that you have your documentation on your machine as well with these safety functions. And Ralph, if we just go to the next slide, I think I might have left it in here as well. This is just a little bit more information on how the documentation looks. And for your radio listeners, just to give you an example, when we have your parameter sets, your checksum information for your parameter setup and the documentation of how the safety parameters were set, that's all in the test protocol, including showing that the tests were run and that it was okay, it was verified, and having the charts in there as well of this is, basically you've charted your machine performance with these safety functions, and having all of that together, and activation test as well. So, everything being documented is a big part of fulfilling the safety on a machine today. And again, we really have this technology built into our drives and in our tools to support the safety aspect. Now, Rafael, you want to sort of take us home with the digitalization message?
Absolutely. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, this will be the last topic. I want to talk about some of the developments that we're making toward drivetrain digitalization, I should say. So the whole idea here is to bring together OT and IT, right? And combine the real and the digital world via high-level simulation software and intelligent floor-level devices in order to gather data and share them to the cloud. So if you think about it, we can break it down into 3 categories or phases. First would be the design phase, where you can have a virtual drive system, or what we call a digital twin, with fully functional mock-up units, and then replicate the drive behavior via those high-level simulation software. And the customer benefits here are fairly straightforward, right? Decrease their time to market while reducing the overall testing and integration costs by performing all of those tasks in a virtual setting. Then the next phase would be the realization phase. And here, that would be the bridge between the virtual and the real world, where users would then implement and realize the system, those simulations using our engineering tools, and replicate them into the real world. And then closing the loop, that would be the optimization phase. That would basically tie the real and the virtual world back again, where customers would gain transparency and health status of their machines by sending real system data back to the digital twin model for performance improvement, for system analytics, or predictive maintenance for that matter. So that's the concept behind, and there are a lot of tools and apps and software that we're developing, a lot of R&D behind those topics. One of them, it's Industrial Edge. So this is the next level in connectivity and data management, right? So when we talk about cloud connectivity, we are referring to a comprehensive, a long-term, a low-frequency monitoring and visualization of data. Industrial Edge, on the other hand, it's all about low latency and high-frequency data acquisition for local on-the-machine analytics and decision-making capabilities. And that includes the use of AI and machine learning, for that matter as well. And Siemens is expanding its Industrial Edge offering, which for now includes our Cinematics S120 series drives, our SIMATIC high-level controllers, and industrial PCs. But that's an area that more and more we're going to have products that are edge capable as well. Digitalization as a whole, it's a hot topic for Siemens these days, not just related to drive technology, but also when it comes to solutions for just the equipment, a production line, or even an entire organization. It's truly a what we call a holistic approach for digital enterprises. And want to close our presentation with a real example here, a real world example. So again, one of the best ways to promote our solutions is to actually put them to work. And that's what we did in one of our manufacturing locations. This is one of our new digital native factories in China, Nanjing. And using that holistic digital enterprise concept, we were able to plan, we were able to analyze, simulate, test, and then validate the entire factory, including all of its processes, using digital twins. We literally replicate the entire factory in a computer before laying any brick, any mortar to that factory. And the results were phenomenal. There are some metrics here in this slide. Productivity was improved by up to 20% when compared to other existing lines that weren't digitally native developed. Volume flexibility boosted by up to 30%. We were able to maximize the use of space by up to 40% and increased the speed of material replenishment by 50%. So impressive numbers, phenomenal numbers there. All in all, this is just an example of the power that digitalization can unlock, along with with the benefits that customers can realize by riding the innovations being brought by the so-called fourth industrial revolution. So, as I said, that was the last topic for the day. We have our contact information on screen. I want to, on behalf of the team here, thanks Sean for the opportunity to talk about the Cinemax portfolio in a nutshell. And we would be glad to come back and talk in more details about each of those topics presented.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to come on the show. And I'm really interested. I mean, you showed so much there, but I'd love to drill down in the future to like some of the tools you make available, whether you're using an S7 CPU or a third party like a Rockwell PLC. I'd love to know more about how you guys, actually how you guys make it easy to take the drive out of the box or the server out of the box and get it up and running. Because, like you were saying, you have on the Rockwell side for the Rockwell products EDS files and AOIs and faceplates. So I'd love to talk more about that. I think the audience would be interested in that. And but with that said, this was a great overview, and I really appreciate all three of you taking time out of your busy days to come on the show.
You're
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
Sean.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Jackie, Craig, and Raphael for all coming on the show and telling us all about Siemens VFD and servo drives. Really appreciate it. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider giving us a like and a sub. And if you want to follow me or support me, you can do so over at automation.locals.com. You'll also find all of my PLC, HMI, and SCADA courses over at theautomationschool.com, and that now includes a new course on the S7 1200 and 1500. With that said, I want to wish you all a very happy, safe, and healthy week. And until next time, my friends, peace.